Hi, Dr. Prana. Good to see you as well. It's been really long time that I was able to follow you from the United States to now in Bali. How's everything?
Thank you, and wonderful. I'm not missing the cold weather there. I'm happy
I
in the tropical.
am sure. It's very nice to see you, and I'm so glad that we are doing this. Always your energy has been something that I keep very close to my heart. So anytime I get to with you and your guidance is really helpful. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for talking to me today.
Thank you. And I know you have interest in, although you're a doctor, but also you have interest in Vedic and Eastern world. So I'm happy to tell you whatever you want to know about how I got here and what I did with the book and everything that you have been asking.
I am so excited because you took out this time. In my journey, I feel like there have been multiple paths that has led me to you. And sometimes I've realized that you've ultimately given me answers to very deep questions in a way that makes it easy. And now that I got to know about the non-dual awareness, I think I'm very curious to learn more about that. And you recently have your book published. So if you don't mind, I want to introduce you to our audience, and then I would like to ask you some questions. My experience has been more from Buddhism and Vedanta culture and Hindu philosophy, but I also feel that everything comes down to unity consciousness, oneness, and I think nobody better has been able to describe that transition between different texts and doing the practices and even doing the workshop with you has helped me a lot in experiential learning rather than just the text. So I'm very happy that we will get to chat about that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know you have your own background from being a doctor and coming to curiosity of all the things, and even the life pushed you kind of to discover things that you wanted to through the philosophies and practices. So I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy
I,
to
I think
have this conversation.
I think it brings you to peace to follow something that is always inside of you and to let it emerge
Hmm.
from you and let everything else fall away. And once you have that conviction, and I'm not still, there are always times when I get doubts, self-doubt, and you're the first person I call, and you're able to untangle it for me and bring me to stillness. And your conscious presence in my mind, and my life has been such a honor and peaceful presence. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Very kind of you.
okay. So today I'm joined with Dr. Prana. He is a doctor of Chinese medicine and has written a book recently on non-dual awareness. The title of his book is Touch of Stillness, is recognizing the primordial consciousness. In this conversation, I want to explore some non-dual awareness topics and the meaning of stillness. Um, and I'm very happy that you are joining us. Thank you, Dr. Prana.
Thank
And
you.
once again, diving into your journey, if you don't mind sharing with us. I know a little bit, but I'm sure our audience would love to know how did you start your journey and how did you arrive into now writing this book? But specifically from from outside to within, how did your journey begin?
So, I mean, I went into, if you know, I mean, we are all Indians. We know that once we are born, the parents wants us to either become an engineer or a doctor or an attorney or something that we can settle in our life for ourselves. So I was kind of more pushed to become an engineer. And I loved
Mm,
being an engineer. Once I got into programming, it really changed my mind and life because the way I approach microprocessor and programming of microprocessor was from perspective of how can a Western civilization create such product and why Eastern world struggles creating those kind of products and Western way of thinking is very different. So that
mm,
kind of pushed me into thinking in terms of philosophies of Eastern and Western. But as a child, I grew up with a Siddha teacher in Gujarat, Western India. And he helped me from a childhood learning about Ayurveda, learning about my own like individual health, because as a child I was very sick at an early age. He used to stay a lot sick, and he kind of helped me thinking through in terms of how you can heal from inside and with the food and practices from inside. So that's how I began. But I never thought about going and becoming a medical practitioner or healing practitioner until I got to US. Because when I arrived here, most people, I realized that think medicine is something that you kind of go when you're sick. And then medicine provides that help with that sicknesses if you arrive. But not many people think in terms of what we can do to not get sick. So we kind of wait until then. And that was the big
That's
difference
right.
of me to think. That's a big difference in terms of how East and West looks, that East always looks that life is always changing. You have to continuously change. And then the Western thinking is more of how to work with what is already there until it arrives. That's we call substance philosophy. Like everything is standardized. You keep making things that stay long. So medicine is built around that substance, that body is material. It's not something changing. We in medical science we consider body as a finished product. After 22, human being is finished. Nothing is changing in human being after that. It's just now aging. We don't think in East that way. It is continuously changing. We don't even think in East body is a thing. We think as a phenomena. So those differences kind of became very important for me to see and think. And then I was thinking in terms of I'm not going to stay in technology for long because I always wanted to do something else. So either I start my own companies and do those things, or I thought what is important is I bring that knowledge of Eastern health. So that's why I went into doing the doctorate in Chinese medicine, because when I started doing practice of Ayurveda in California in 2003, because in California, the alternate medicine practice opened up in 2002. So 2003, I started practicing Ayurveda because until then, you couldn't practice Ayurveda or anything without the doctor's license. Jerry Brown in 2002 late opened up that if you practice alternate medicine, as long as the both agree that I'm not diagnosing Western medicine and not stopping what people do in hospital, I can practice. So then
Mm.
2003 started practicing Ayurveda, but I realized if you practice Ayurveda as a therapist or as a massage person, nobody kind of values it. But still today, Ayurveda mostly is practiced in California in retreat centers and spas, not as a medical centers. So that's why I went and did my doctorate in Chinese medicine so that I can see people's reaction shift. Like now I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine, so they kind of have a different opinion. But nothing inside me changed other than I have a more knowledge of healing, one from Ayurveda and one from Chinese medicine. So that's how I got into healing. Um, but it's basically for me to help see things from different perspective, which helped me. So I hope people can actually learn from it and help themselves.
That's such an interesting story from the West and from East to West to East again, but coming from a very active corporate culture to make that decision to, go based off your Swadharma that we see in Vedanta and
Hmm?
knowing you have experience with Vedic astrology and knowing your patterns and releasing it. The path that you have been through is so wide ranged, and I think it's a testimony to know how aware you are as a person and then how many paths you have taken. So anybody who comes in your field you can relate in at different levels. It's not just that you're on a mountain doing meditation and these thoughts are coming. You've actually been in real life working, both in America and outside America in developing countries, and having that grounded growth from a very holistic perspective. Um, Dr. Prana, you have recently published a book as well, available on Amazon. The title is Touch of Stillness, and it suggests something very subtle. How is this stillness different from relaxation or meditative state or silence?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The stillness is intimate because we are it. We are consciousness. When we attune to stillness within, all pervading space that we call within, as the closest description of our experience. The consciousness with capital C is the stillness. So when we say attune to the stillness, what we really mean by is to attuning to that consciousness within us that is with capital C, big consciousness. There is only one consciousness. It's same whether it's in you or me. In Bhagavad Gita, it's referred as the field, kshetra. That's what they don't even talk about as a consciousness in Sanskrit because there is no word in consciousness in Sanskrit. It's either the self, which is my inner experience of being me, but that self is also the field, which is the consciousness everywhere, which in Advaita referred as a Brahman, which is everywhere. Or if you go to Shakta Advaita, they'll refer as a mother. Ramakrishna Paraman's is called the mother everywhere, but it's same. It's a consciousness with capital C. The touch really is a translation of a word in Sanskrit called Sparsh. That's what in English we translate as a touch, but it's not. It's a very simplified translation of Sparsh as the touch, because the Sparsh or the touch in Advaita and in Siddha and Vajrayana does not simply mean the tactile contact of two surfaces, but that's what comes as the touch. But the Sparsh rather means a subtle resonance when the boundaries of two entities dissolve and the shared field of experience is internally experienced. Like if you're touched by a smell, it changes you. If you're touched by a flavor, it changes you. It's because there's a deep resonance with that flavor or a fragrance or a person or a voice or a tone or a song. And that's what we mean by sparsh, the touch. And in Ayurveda, it's considered the root of all senses. So that's what I meant by touch, is that resonance, because that's what we are doing. Tuning to stillness is resonating with that stillness inside or the big consciousness that is everywhere. The relaxation is something that body does. Stillness is what consciousness is. Silence is, as I said before, absence of noise or sedation of energies. But the stillness I speak of, or non-dualness awareness people speak of, is luminous and awake. It's not sedation. So the state of relaxation, silence, or meditative states are like the waves and the tides of the ocean. But that is stillness. So when we talk about stillness, we're not talking about trying to relax or trying to be. It's the deep inside us that is who we are. That's why I put the title as Touch of Stillness.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Is this stillness also very similar to what Krishnamurti talked about? I don't know.
I haven't read much of Krishnamurti, but if he's pointing to that deeper field that is the foundation of all, yes, then
I
it is
think
the
he
same.
talks about stillness a lot. We
Yeah.
can cut this part.
Yeah, no, the Lord
Whatever you
Krishna
want to
talks about as a field.
Okay. So I do want to ask you, for somebody who is encountering this topic of primordial consciousness or stillness for the first time, or I know that I've had a lot of interaction with you, so I have a little bit of knowledge, but if somebody's completely new to non-dual awareness, how would we simply be able to explain it to them?
Yeah. So from an experiential perspective, think about like a fish who suddenly becomes aware that ocean is inside and around her. The fish will feel full because it will feel the fullness of ocean, but also the bliss of ocean, that it's not a small, tiny thing. It will have a clarity of the self that ocean and the fish is same. So those are the three experiences we talk about, basic grounds of non-dual awareness. The vast space, you suddenly feel that you're not just isolated, and the blissful experience of the fullness when it comes with that vast space. And then the clarity, which is sometimes called luminosity, that arises, that now you are more aware of your own self as well as where you are and what is around you as a vastness. That's the basic experiences we call of non-dual awareness. Think it this way. Nobody has to teach you how to feel your physical body. You know what your physical body is. Nobody has to. You don't go asking, how do I experience my physical body? So you already know that with your senses. And then if you train yourself a little bit, or you have been to healing work or do inner meditation, you start to see your thoughts and emotions as energies. When you're angry, you feel hot. When you're sad, you feel heavy. When you're nervous, you feel jittery. So you feel this jittery, hard, heavy, these energies in you. And you start to see that there is body, but there is also something else called energies. I'm saying is there is something else also called consciousness. It needs practice to have a direct
So
recognition
body,
because
energy, and consciousness.
exactly. So it needs practice
Okay.
to directly recognize consciousness because senses don't recognize consciousness. Body, you can feel it through your senses. Energies through a
Mm,
little bit of introspection and perception. That inner perception we say, and then you feel those energies. But
mm,
the recognition directly of consciousness requires practice. But once you feel
mm,
your energies, your body doesn't go away. You don't say, oh, I'm just energy and my body just went away. You still are body and you still feel those energies inside you. Same thing with consciousness. Once you feel the consciousness, your body doesn't just go away. You just don't vaporize. You
mm,
feel aware of that there is consciousness that is vast in me and around me. And also there is the energies that are flowing through, there are emotions and thoughts. But also there is this physicality. So it doesn't go away. So you become aware of all at the same time. So your experience of joy, anxiety, upsets don't go away. They just become the
mm,
waves. You don't resist anymore. They don't knock you off suddenly, and then you start to feel the richness of life. But that's the experience I can explain without putting more thoughts or thinking. You stop being struggling with life because now
mm.
you have this space inside and around you through which the life is flowing through you. You no longer feel isolated. Like suddenly the fish knows I am the ocean in and out. I'm not just tiny person. So somehow your body stays physical, but you also experience energies, you also experience the vast spaceness that is all pervading and alive. That's what the beginning experience we said, the beginning ground of non-dual awareness.
Very nicely explained. I really connect with that example of the fish. It reminds me like how these days loneliness is one of the biggest
Mm-hmm.
epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I'm hearing from you, it just feels like once we are aware of the vastness beyond our
Mm-hmm.
body and emotion, once
Mm-hmm.
we touch or start understanding how to experience that awareness, we
Mm-hmm.
probably would not feel lonely. We
Exactly.
might be alone, but not feel lonely.
Exactly. So when we attune to that deep stillness inside that's already there, um, in all pervading space, then you no longer resist life. You don't feel isolated. You no longer
Mm,
wake up in the morning and feel constricted. And you don't
mm,
feel any time like you are empty of all things, and you feel at the same time fullness of the life.
very
So
nice.
you feel both. You feel the deep stillness in you. At the same time, you feel the fullness in you. But you're not anymore isolated. You don't feel, like you said, lonely, but you don't feel restricted.
Mm,
You have to resist life, even if it's painful or joyful or is
mm,
flowing through you, or you're having thoughts about scattered mind, but they just feel like the waves and the tides of the ocean that are just going through you, not that you as a fish are suffering through them.
mm, mm. That's awesome. And Dr. Prana, in your book, you also talk about primordial consciousness. Is that same or related to the non-dual awareness, or is that different? Can you explain a little bit more about that as well, please?
Yeah, the term primordial is my way of kind of articulating the experience of the state of consciousness that feels innate and foundational. If I say innate consciousness, it kind of personalizes, so I didn't use that word. If I say foundational, it feels like something I'm going to stand upon. So, but
Mm,
primordial felt more kind of closer to what we experience, which is implies free of content. Primordial means it was before
mm,
anything. So it implies all the things that are arising from that. In Buddhism, we talk about it as a shunyata, meaning empty of all the contents. So within that primordial consciousness, that stillness, you inherently feel non-dual because it's
mm,
without any content. So there is no you, me, this, that. It's vast, space, and it feels the deep stillness. So the separation that we feel we need to experience, because in order to experience life, in order to experience me computer, or in order to experience me you talking to me, I have to have that separation. I have to have those boundaries. So anytime we experience in this level of reality, duality is very much present. You can't take it away. Without that, you can't experience. But when you feel that inner stillness, that separation dissolves for a second, not that it goes away. So you feel that dual and non-dual existing at the same time. So the non-dual part I
Mm.
articulate as a primordial.
Oh, wonderful. So it's not that we are running away to silence, we're integrating with it. So the practice that we learn, it's not to be done in isolation, or like how traditionally we think about bringing our outside world low. It's integrating with the outside world, but having that safe space inside of us to
Yes,
reach.
and it's not even silence, because silence is like letting go of all the noises. It's like sedation. What I'm talking is awake. I'm talking about fully present. It is kind of opposite of silence.
Mm.
You're fully aware and awake. You're not sedating yourself. You're not trying to eliminate all the noises. It's just you become deeply attuned to the stillness inside. And the noises just come and go. And kind of, they don't knock you off. They don't push you away. The life doesn't throw you off. You always come back to your stillness inside, and then you flow with the life. So
Mm.
it's not even
Just talking
cultivating
to you.
silence,
Uh-huh.
because it's
Just
silence.
talking to you, I feel like I'm becoming more relaxed and calm.
Yeah, and I also talked about the recognizing.
Mm.
It's not attaining. It's not
Mm.
about, because if you think about the word recognizing, because attaining implies that the consciousness is not there now, that you have to
Mm.
go somehow attain it or achieve it, which means you don't have the consciousness experience. That's what it means, but it's not true, because it's always there. So it's not about attaining. It's not about achieving, because it's always there. It's like when you're dreaming, from the dream state, you come to wakeful state, not by achieving a wakeful state. You just recognize, oh, I'm awake now. That was a dream. I think it froze again, so I'm going to wait. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dr. Prana. I don't
that's
know why
okay.
this is happening. But
That's
I think
okay.
I lost you, or I don't know if you lost me, but difference between stillness and being silent, or stillness and non-dual
Yeah, this.
awareness.
Yeah. So
I can ask you that question again.
I no, I think it's recorded. I'm just going to explain the
Yeah, I
recognizing
think you
versus
were
attaining.
getting recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
and
you
you were
were
too.
being
So
recorded.
I'll just do the
Okay.
second part. So um, and I use the word recognizing instead of attaining, because attaining implies consciousness experience is currently missing, or it is some future goal that you have to go attain it. But it's not true, because it's our present reality. It is not something you attain, because it's always there. It's like dreaming. When you're dreaming, and from the dream you come back to wakeful state, not by achieving a wakeful state. You just wake up and say, oh, you recognize I'm awake, and that was a dream. So you didn't have to achieve wakefulness or attain wakefulness to come out of the dream. You just had to recognize, oh, that was a dream, this is awake. Same thing with non-dualness. It's always there. You just have to recognize. The Sanskrit word for recognizing is called pratyabhijna, which is the practices of
Mhm.
recognizing. Make
So, Dr.
sense?
Prana, is this same as Surya, the fourth state that we talk about?
Well,
Because the
it
fourth state of
in
consciousness, when I compare with sleep, deep sleep, wakeful, and then comes Surya, is it similar?
So in non-dual awareness, everything is consciousness. Your sleep is also consciousness, your dream is also consciousness, your awake is also consciousness, and the fourth is also consciousness. They're just states of
So,
consciousness.
Dr. Prana, is Tura the same thing as non-dual awareness?
So the non-dual awareness, in non-dual awareness, the different states are still consciousness. Dream is still consciousness, awake is still consciousness, your all other states we talk about, they're consciousness, including Turiya. They're considered like the tides of the ocean.
Mm.
But the ocean itself is the deep stillness. When you experience something, that's a content,
Mm-hmm.
which means now you're in one of the states of consciousness. If you experience duality, then you're in a dual state of consciousness. When you experience non-duality, then you're in a non-dual state of consciousness. But these are all states which we call content. But the consciousness itself is stillness. It's you cannot explain it because it doesn't have any content.
Mm. Mm. That makes sense. And in terms of experiencing such a state,
Mhm.
how, like theoretically, I'm able to understand it. I think I've learned about it, so it makes sense. But what are some of the tangible practices or tools that we can use to experience such a state?
The first and foremost is like to intellectually understand that there is a consciousness.
Mm.
It's like how you went from understanding body to energies. You have to intellectually understand there are energies, and then you have to see that they are actually in you. You
Mm.
didn't have to go out to see heat of your anger or heaviness of your sadness. You internally felt it. Then you start to know that those are energies inside me, not outside.
Mm.
So same thing. First is intellectually kind of understanding that there is something called consciousness. And then various practices are based on recognizing it. The recognizing the inner space, recognizing the all-pervading space, attuning to stillness inside. These are all practices, and the simple practices I actually put it in my book.
Mm.
But they are very simple and basic. People are making more progress nowadays because think it this way that what people are getting more and more are stressful life. They're more distracted, more stressful. They have a hard time to actually nourish themselves. So it kind of creates the internal environment where the sense of I-ness is starting to get looser,
Mm.
which actually helps to start seeing there is more to us than just body and energies.
Mm.
So this era is actually much easier to practice these practices rather than in previous era where people did not feel the energies or people only felt the body or material aspects, which is why the rituals were important. Then people started feeling energies. That's why the mantras and chants were important.
Mm.
And then you will go into feeling that inner space and stillness. Then this practice comes.
Nice. And from your experience, Dr. Prana, have you seen a shift in the kind of problems over the last decade that people are facing when they come to you, what their state is or how they interact with the external world or how their bodies are? Have you noticed any shift in the type of problems that come to you and then the
I would,
solution or
yes, I have. And the reason, for a long time, I never wanted to talk about non-dualness. I actually, for over 40 years, I just kept it aside. I
mm,
simply didn't feel any inclination to write a book or even talk about it or teach, forget about coming and doing it in open person. Because in my experience, um, it's something internal. It's an internal fire that tends to awaken in you. So something that touches you from inside rather than something can be externally put into you.
mm,
So it requires an active inquiry. It requires that active, what am I going through? Who am I? And that kind of things, that internal fire, then eventually it's something inside touches you. But what I've noticed that after prolonged COVID-19, patients I was seeing were presenting me with a paradox. Their lab tests were totally fine. Their organs were totally fine. But their internal experience was of a broken person.
mm,
They will feel fatigue, they will feel weakened immune system, they'll have difficulty in sleeping, their appetite will be reduced, there will be fogginess. So it's like literally they're internally not the same person. It's like a broken inside, existential crisis inside.
Mm.
But the labs are totally fine. Their organs are fine, their systems are fine, their blood are fine, their vitamins are fine, they're all fine. So that kind of like existential fatigue that medicine could not touch, I found that that exhaustion created in them what in Sufis call a place of surrender. Because all the defenses were down, like, I don't know what is happening with me, help. So when that kind of surrender happens, or in Taoism we call it like non-doing, that I don't know what to do, I give up kind of a thing, it becomes very easy to sense that inner stillness and inner space. So when I started giving them practices, they were easily able to glimpse the all-pervading space inside,
No.
which then gave them relief. They were able to feel themselves and they were able to help themselves to come out of, even for small duration.
Mm-hmm.
So that became my catalyst, and that became, I realized that for this era, people should incorporate this kind of practice in their healing. Sit with themselves, feel that inner space, connect and attune to that inner stillness. I think this is a time that is happening naturally, like people are naturally surrendering when that internal state of brokenness comes in.
Mm.
So
No, I have
that became,
experienced that with you, and I have benefited from sessions with you. I think you're living your dharma by spreading your knowledge and healing powers. And I would love for our listeners to also understand what a typical session with you might look like, and how do you choose what modality to use for different kind of problems that people encounter.
yeah, so when I do the session, I'm not telling them to stop anything they're doing. It's not like they have to stop taking medicine or change something, because it has nothing to do with your body and energy. It's just to do with what is your inner stillness, inner being, inner spaces. So the typical session, yes, I do take an intake of making sure that they have, they're okay what their symptoms are. So I do go through an intake. I do let them sign a consent because they're just going to discuss some aspects of their health. But after that, the normal session is I guide them in their own comfortable position wherever they're sitting. Doesn't have to be any specific position, just that the back has to be straight, vertical, comfortably sitting. And then I guide them through their inner practice. I tell them what to go and feel inside, starting with regulating breath and then going inside and then do inner guidance. So typically session lasts like 10-15 minutes in between before we talk, 35 to 40 minutes of inner guidance, and then we come back and talk about what they felt.
Mm,
But I adjust also based on their comfort. If they have
mm,
pain or they have anxiety, then I might incorporate some essential oils, some
mm,
music to kind of settle them first before I. So, in other words, I do go through settling their body, getting their energies kind of settled and regulating their breath, which is basically energy body, and
mm,
then letting them go inside towards the consciousness. Although it's not required, but once you have an experience of consciousness, then this next follow-up session, it becomes less of a body and energy, less of a settling the body or making your energies comfortable. You automatically have that.
mm.
So it was, but initially I do go through the body and the energies before I get to work with the consciousness.
And Dr. Prana, when somebody reaches that state of being able to experience consciousness, does it last? I does it last with them, or it's very variable, or is there some different aspects that you have seen or would like to share about?
So think it this way. When you experience energies in your body, just once you come back to your physical body, does that go away? It
It
stays
doesn't
with
go.
you. You're always going
Mm,
to notice that anger comes in, there anger comes in.
right.
So there my heaviness comes in because I'm sad, or my jitteriness comes because I'm nervousness. It doesn't go away. Same thing with the consciousness. Once you experience consciousness, you will experience that in all situations.
Mm,
So it doesn't go away. That is the good part of this practice. It's not like once you get up from the cushion, then you have to leave the practice on the cushion.
mhm,
No, because this is who you are. So it goes with you.
mm,
Once you become aware of your energies, they go with you wherever you are. You will always experience those energies. Now you
mm,
become more aware of there is another aspect of me called energies. Same thing with consciousness. You'll become more
mm.
aware of that there is also that space and consciousness in me that's everywhere where I go. So no, it
Right.
doesn't go away. It's just another aspect of you that you recognize now that is already there.
Yes, and I think one thing I learned from reading your book, very eloquently you express that it's not about doing more. It's
Hmm.
not about acquiring more or being better. It's about
Hmm.
recognizing who you are and accepting it fully and understanding yourself, basically. You reveal yourself. So I really enjoyed that part as well.
Yeah, and the role of somebody who's guiding is not putting something in you.
Hmm.
Think it this way. Um, if somebody around you, your friend or somebody in family, is now deeply in love with somebody, you meet them, you talk to your friend who is in deeply love, something inside you starts to feel that love. Not that that person who is in love put something in you, but
Mm-hmm.
that was already in there. So we call that as resonance. Sanskrit word is samavesh.
Mm-hmm.
You resonate to feel your own love when you see somebody deeply in love. Even if you're walking on the street, you see old couples sitting on the bench and they're in love and they're chatting or making fun of each other. You feel that love and then you feel that charm inside you as well. It's not like they put something in you. Same thing with the person who's guiding or teaching. It's not like I'm going to put something in you. But if I am aware of my own state of inner space and I recognize and I stay with it, you become aware of that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's same way like if you go to a nervous person who is very jittery, you start to feel that jitteriness and like you feel that I'm getting nervous. It's not like they made you nervous. It's already there inside. You just connected with your own nervousness. You go to a calm person, you feel the resonance of the calmness. So same thing, once you recognize the inner space in you, then you don't need a teacher or a practitioner, but the only thing the teacher or a guide is doing is helping you to resonate what is already in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, finding a good teacher is the hardest thing, and I think I found one who I would recommend. Well, anybody who has even experienced a session with Dr. Prana would know what I'm talking about. But that's great,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Prana. Okay, Dr. Prana, I also have one more question that I did write down that I want to read to you. And it's many people understand non-duality intellectually, but they struggle to experience it. What helps them bridge the gap between understanding that conceptually and experiencing it?
Yeah, so language is inherently dualistic.
Mm,
You cannot think without language. Thinking requires language. You cannot, if you are having thoughts in your mind, they require language to have that thoughts. So the structure of language affects your thinking. So you can't think to experience non-duality because that experience doesn't require language, doesn't require senses. So everything we are taught in this world is like we have two divided parts. That which is happening inside me, your inner life, and that which is happening outside you or your outer life. We're forced to make the distinction between our body and our mind,
mm,
matter and mind, within and without. We're conditioned, kind of, there is a wall between you and me, between me and my work, between me and my body, and my thoughts and the body. That's the essence of dualism. That's required to have experience in this reality, what we call dualistic reality. Um, but the idea that you can use your intellect to climb over that wall just builds a bigger wall.
mm,
You can't go through it. That's why we say the non-duality is not easy to grasp intellectually,
mm,
that you have to learn to practice of direct recognition. And that's where I said before, the resonance helps.
mm,
If you practice in a group who have that level of awareness, then the group resonance pulls you in.
mhm,
If you practice with somebody who has experience of like love and then you feel that love in you, same thing with the non-dualness. So that's the bridge, the resonance. We call samavesh in Sanskrit, or
mhm,
and to recognize, which is prativigya. So those two go together. You kind of work with somebody first until you recognize, then you practice on your own.
mm.
But
Dr.
the
Prana,
intellectual won't help.
what's coming up for me right now is we talk about meditation
Mhm.
being different from mindfulness, but meditation being that state where you, not in a traditional sense that it is popularized now, but it is also a state where you surrender to experience that state of wholeness from within. Is it is there a difference between the practice of meditation and the practice of non-dual awareness?
So the practice of meditation, this is what I tell people. When you talk about meditation and you put it in Eastern context, it becomes very different. Why?
Mm,
Because there is no Hindi or Sanskrit or any Indian language that has a word called meditation. You won't
you're
find
right.
it.
You're right.
What we have is the names of the processes, like dharana, which means to have a concentrated focus,
Mm,
dhyan, contemplate, or you do simriti, sati simriti, which is mindfulness. So we don't have a word for meditation, which is generic to do something with mind. We have words for every kriyas or processes, and we have thousands of those. And each kriya or process will have a specific focus,
mm,
and then you focus on that. Non-dual awareness doesn't have that kriya other than you have to recognize.
yeah.
So you're not, so all the kriyas will focus either on settling your body or settling your awareness in terms of how you feel your energies and your mind.
Mm,
But to recognize awareness directly requires awareness itself, nothing else.
mm,
So that's where the kriyas kind of fall off.
got it. Very nice. Thank you for explaining that.
Mhm. It's, and also you can think in terms of like a glass in the ocean.
Okay.
The water inside the pitcher and water outside is same water. But if the pitcher is dark and not porous, it feels separate.
Mm,
So the awareness, non-dual awareness practice is like thinning the glass and making it porous and transparent, so
okay.
that you can see that the what is inside you and outside you is the same space. It's the same
Mm,
consciousness. But the moment you fall into dualistic and start thinking, you're basically making the picture dark and non-transparent. And then you just feel your own water, and then you feel the water outside is another water. You start to feel that separation. So the non-dual awareness is to thinning that boundary by
mm-hmm.
attuning to stillness that is already there.
Dr. Brian, you did touch on this briefly before, but can we go into detail with how practicing non-dual awareness and understanding this can help us in living a better life on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so recognition doesn't change who we are.
Mhm.
It's like when you realized you have energies, didn't change you. You become more aware of your emotions as energies and as a physical body. So when you recognize your consciousness, doesn't mean that the embodied being will suddenly change. Nothing that happens. So you don't suddenly change who you are. What happens is, and it doesn't even change the environment you exist. You're still going to have the same friends and same family and same work and same commute, and you'll still like the same coffee. What changes is how you now see them.
Mm,
That's what changes. So it's like going into a room that was dark and you're falling all over the place and you're resisting to walk, and suddenly you turn the light on. Now you see everything around, and now you
mm,
don't fall, you don't resist, you're just walking around freely in the room. That's what happens. Not that the room
wow,
changed or the furniture changed. It's just now you have better clarity about it and you no
very
longer
powerful.
resist.
Very powerful. I think not resisting is what's resonating with me a lot because a lot of energy goes sometimes in resisting outside experiences or when we feel somebody's negative energy or a negative circumstance coming, it just closes up something
Exactly.
inside of us. And I
Yeah.
think you just saying the word not resisting the experience of life is slowly helps in just opening up and not be
Yes.
scared.
Yes, because you feel the same space inside you and them.
Mm, mm,
Even although you label it as negative, but it's the same space that you're labeling as negative. It's not a different
mhm.
space. Even if you think in English, by whatever intuition that came, the consciousness is singular.
Mm,
You don't have plural. We don't have
right,
consciousnesses, which means the consciousness inside you and consciousness inside me is same consciousness.
right.
Once you recognize, yeah, it's verbal and intellectual, but once you have that direct recognition and experiential, then it's like turning the light switch in a dark room.
Mhm,
Then you don't resist. Then you don't, you still will have the same anger, but you're not going to resist. you'll be able to have conversation of why you have that. And you'll recognize it rather than just resisting it. Or
Mm,
joy and compassion. So those become the waves and the tides. It basically gives you the deep attunement to inner stillness, gives you that clarity. It opens up ourselves to different perspectives rather than just my closed one.
mm, mm,
It opens up to the fullness of life. It opens up to realizing that you are the material and you are the spiritual. Same, not too different. The
mm.
material didn't come out of somewhere, nothing. It came out of the same consciousness that is in you and is also the same. So you become very intimate. You
Right.
become very connected with everything that you are, and you feel intimate because it's same. You don't see that I am something else and other person or other things came out of somewhere else. That goes away because you have the same experience of inner stillness and space around you. So the separation goes away and you become embodied being. You don't transcend. You're not going to leave your body to go somewhere else because you are the same consciousness that is the body, and it's the same consciousness that is the space around you, and it is the same space that is pervading all around us.
Mm. Does it help also to have our external dependencies fall away, or is that one of the
You
benefit or
become more
some?
aware. If you're
Mm,
dependent on something, you'll become more aware that you are
mm,
dependent, and then you'll
okay.
become more aware that why you're dependent, and you'll become more aware the necessity of being dependent.
Mm,
So
good.
think it this way: when we are as the children, we are trying to go after becoming and achieving something.
Mhm,
It is as spiritual as when we grow up and have children. It's as spiritual as you grow up and becoming a doctor or an engineer. It is as spiritual as you recognizing that what were you really achieving all this time is your own self.
mm,
Because that's the only constant in all the struggles we go through life. As a child, as an adult, as a parent, all we are struggling to achieve, but what we're really looking for is our own deeper self,
mm,
our own real self. There's a really good dialogue in Tulsidas' Ramcharitmanas. When the Hanuman meets the Lord Ram first time, Lord Ram asks him, "Who are you? A monkey or a man? How do you look upon me?" So Hanuman replied, "When I don't know who I am, I serve you. When I do know who I am as Atma or self, then you and I are one."
mm,
So everything we do, all the struggles we go through is actually we're looking for our own self.
mm,
When we're going through the struggles, when we don't know who I am, we're going through all these struggles and achieving things and serving things. But the moment we deeply sit with ourselves and find that self inside us, then we see the same self, that same space everywhere. That's why he said, when I don't know who I am, I serve you.
mm.
But when I know who I am as Atma, you and I are same.
Oh, that's the amazing. Oh, I am speechless because that just lands so deep, and I can't find a better ending to my questions. Um, but I want to still ask, is there any misconceptions or things that you have noted people have about non-dual awareness, or any kind of a myth that you want to tell
Yeah,
people?
so one of the common misunderstanding is that um, non-dual awareness is like superpower. That now I'll be able to get some clairvoyance, or I will be able to live my preferred life, or my another better version of superhuman. That's what most people think, that I'm doing this
Mm,
practice to become a better version of me, or higher version of me, or superior version of me. I don't correct them because that's not my job to correct somebody's expectation. What I tell them is just sit, practice, attune to the stillness inside. Because what will happen then, this need to achieve, to become a better version of yourself will go away once you're clear.
mm,
You discover far deeper in yourself the beauty and clarity of being fully embodied human rather than something else. And you realize greatest power inside you, rather than knowing the future or reading somebody's mind, the ability to stand in the fullness of life, no matter what
Mm.
happens. I think that's the greatest power, rather than trying to find out future so you can avoid it or be with it. But if you have ability to, no matter what happens, you'll stay still and you'll be able to attune to stillness and go through it with the fullness of life. I don't think you'll be looking for superpowers then.
Mm-hmm.
The direct experience of the field or the primordial consciousness is its own teacher. It replaces the desire for more with realization of enough.
That's awesome. I think yes, you nailed it. That just summarized everything so well. And I feel your energy right now, and I think the information that you've given us through this conversation is gonna only open more and more doors and more curiosity. So I want to know from you, from all the listeners, what's the best way to reach out to you and about your services, or if anything else you want to add.
So if you're listening to this, or if you read anything, and then if you want to just take away one thing, I would say actually three things instead of one thing. If you practice any kind of practice that allows you to find your non-dual awareness or your own self within you, it will help you to be fully alive as a human being. Your thoughts, feeling, perception will no longer take you away from yourself. And you won't feel that you have to go somewhere to find yourself, because you can attune to stillness right now here. Like Dogen Zenji says, if you don't find it here, where else are you going to find it? Yeah, you can reach me anytime. My website is drprana.com. It has all the information, and you can email me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prana. Thank you for spending this time and your knowledge. And I'm sure our conversations will continue. But I encourage all the listeners to reach out for any follow-up questions, and we will continue this session with many more to come.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.